Hey folks! I attended the Jehovah Witness Memorial here a few weeks ago, and I would just like to share with you my impressions and observations of that event. Now, for those of you that are uninitiated or unfamiliar, the memorial is what the Jehovah Witnesses call their observation of the Last Supper or communion. They only do it once per year, and the other name it goes by is the observation of the Lord's evening meal. And again, they only do it once a year, and normally about a month or so before the event, the Jehovah Witnesses go out and they extend invitations to people. They take little pamphlets that are made up for the occasion, and they hand them out to people, stick them in doors, and that sort of thing. And they invite people to come in to the Kingdom Hall. It's basically their one big event of the year. And I went last year because I was studying with some Jehovah Witnesses, and felt really led of the Lord to go. This year, I didn't get an invitation, and hadn't heard from my witnesses in about 6 months or so. The last time we had studied together, they had talked about their territory had changed, and now I was no longer part of that territory, but I was now part of the territory of a different Kingdom Hall, and did I want to continue my studies with the people in the new territory. And I told them at that time I would be praying about it, thinking about it, and maybe get back with them. And so that was like six months or so ago. I heard from them 1 week afterward, and they asked, was I thinking about continuing on, and I said I was still praying about it or thinking about it, or I didn't think so at this time. And that was basically the last I had heard from them. And then the memorial this year rolls around, and I hadn't heard from them, hadn't heard from anybody. And everybody online in the various Jehovah Witness and Christian groups are talking about how they got their invitations and how they were talking to various people, and I still hadn't gotten mine yet. And I'm going, okay. So I got online, looked up when the memorial was, and the Kingdom Hall that I had gone to last year wasn't on the list. So I started getting a little nervous and wondering, what had happened. And put it out on Facebook, put some feelers out, what happened to this congregation, does anybody know? And the following Sunday, one of my friends at church said, oh, I talked to a Jehovah Witness that I used to study with, and yeah, that Kingdom Hall closed, and the people kind of dispersed. So I said, okay. And so again, I'd been praying about it a little bit. And after church, in between stuffing those pagan Easter eggs, that's a little inside joke there for those of you. So in between stuffing the pagan Easter eggs, I took a break and texted the Jehovah Witnesses that I had been studying with previously, and said, hey, I heard the Kingdom Hall had closed down, and I was just wondering how you all are doing. I've been thinking about you, and hope everything's all right. And she texted me back a little while later and said, that she'd been thinking about me too, and yeah, that Kingdom Hall had closed, and they're now going to this other Kingdom Hall, and by the way, this is when the memorial is. So I thought, okay, cool. And that was on a Sunday. And the memorial was on Wednesday. So I went to church for half an hour, participated in praise and worship at church, and then drove to the Kingdom Hall. It's like 2 miles 2 miles from the church. And got there and the parking lot was already packed, and I'm thinking, I got the time wrong or something, you know. Praise God, got in there. They hadn't started yet, you know. It wasn't supposed to start for another few minutes. So I was good there. People were really friendly, you know, they were really nice, and I mentioned the names of the witnesses that I had been studying with. Oh, yeah, we know them, come here, you know. So they pointed me in their direction, and so I sat with them during the memorial. I was in the second row, literally behind the elders, and I knew a little bit of what to expect because I had gone last year. But this Kingdom Hall was like packed out. It was a small hall, but it was still like packed to the gills. Probably 100 people there. And one of the first things that kind of struck me a little bit was one of the songs that we sang. They don't have live music, first of all. If you've never been to a Kingdom Hall and you're used to live accompaniment, that kind of throws you a little bit. But one of the songs was literally about the 144,000. And I think it was called A Special Class of People. I mean, literally, it was about, this entire song was about the anointed class. It was not so much about God or Jesus. It was called A Special Class of People. And it was all about the anointed class. And I thought, man, you know, that just kind of sat weird with me, first of all. And then the speaker gave the talk. It's the same talk, basically the same talk they give every year. They speak about Jesus' sacrifice and how we're to be grateful, and they talk about, the last part of it is mainly focused on who should partake and who shouldn't partake. Well, of course, they teach only the 144,000 can partake of the elements. And then the other thing that struck me, even though I didn't get an invitation, I saw pictures of it online, and it was supposed to be about the thief on the cross. The thief on the cross was promised paradise by Jesus. So I'm kind of expecting to hear something during this talk about the thief on the cross and how he was promised paradise. I may have heard 2 whole sentences about the thief on the cross. Maybe. I mean, I don't remember him really talking about it at all. You know, and here it's on the invitation. And so I was talking about it afterward online to some folks, and they were talking about, yeah, you know, we noticed they didn't talk about paradise and the thief either. You know, what's up with that? Well, maybe they're waiting until the big talk, you know, in a couple weeks. Because normally what happens is they have the memorial observation, and then either the following Sunday or the next Sunday there's the big talk, in which, you know, it's their big sermon, I guess, for the year. And so a gentleman was online, and he went to that, and he said, they didn't talk about the thief either, so I'm kind of, when are they going to talk about the thief? So that was another thing, you know. The first thing was the song, and then not talking about the thief, and then, of course, Jehovah Witnesses believe that only the 144,000 can partake of the elements. So I'm sitting here during the talk, and the entire time, basically my spirit is grieved, and my heart, I'm just, I can't believe it. I'm sitting here with all of these people, and they're denying Christ. You know, I was sitting there thinking about that scripture, in the Bible where Jesus looks out over Jerusalem and he weeps over the unbelief of the Jews, of the people, because they didn't recognize him as Messiah. And I'm thinking, I wanted to cry. And I'm thinking, while I'm sitting there, that's what Jesus went through. And I've just got just a little sliver of what that must have felt like. I'm sitting in a packed out Kingdom Hall, and to my knowledge, I was the only person that partook of the elements. Again, I was in the second row, so I couldn't really see what was happening behind me, or really, off to the sides. But one person out of 100 partook of the elements. The speaker didn't partake. None of the elders partook. And that's, one of the things that gets me is the elders are supposed to be like the spiritual leaders. And if they're not even worthy enough to partake, what are you doing teaching other people? But anyway, so I was the only one that partook. Nobody asked me about it afterwards, and then I found out later on, again in the message boards and in the groups and such, that generally speaking, if you partake, they consider you, and you're not a Jehovah Witness, they consider you mentally diseased or apostate or satanic, because only the anointed class are supposed to partake. And so if you partake, they're kind of supposed to avoid you because you might contaminate the flock. So anyway, I had my handy dandy little list of questions tucked into my Bible in case somebody asked me something, or there was a segue to talk about things. And yeah, shame on me. Maybe I should have brought it up. Maybe I should have been a little confrontational, perhaps, and asked some questions. So, that's on me for not bringing it up. But that was my big takeaway from the whole experience. Was the unbelief of the people that profess to love Jehovah, we love Jesus, and yet they go by a teaching from a man that he initiated in 1935, and they go by that and not the Bible. And then they sing a song not about God, not about Jesus, but about this special class of people. It's just so very heartbreaking to me. I told one lady online, I said, for whatever reason, this year was really tough for me. I don't know what the difference was, but I'm like, I don't know if I could go back again. I've been 2 years now, and I don't know if I could handle going through that again. Somebody online, they refer to it as the annual rejection ceremony, and that's what it is. These people, the emblems pass them by, and they just look at them, and they don't partake. And it's like, how is that honoring Jesus? When you sing about a special class of people, how is that honoring Jesus? So the whole thing was just, I'm going to be blunt here, very disrespectful to Jesus. It was nothing about him being the Passover lamb, nothing about that. Don't get me wrong, the people are really nice, they were really friendly. I met a few more people. I met the family of the Jehovah Witnesses that I started out studying with, and they had moved. So, nice people, great people, but man, just a heartbreaking thing to witness. So, that's my impressions as an outsider of attending the Jehovah Witness Memorial. I don't know if I'll go back again next year. Time will tell. I'm sure the Lord will tell me one way or the other. But if you're out there and you're looking for support, maybe you're in the area and you would like to go, you're an ex-Jehovah Witness and you would just like to go, but you're afraid to go alone, I'm here. I will go with you. So I'm just putting that out there for you. And that was my impressions of this year's Jehovah Witness Memorial. Thanks.